Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to the special report, your news of views program about geek gaming culture. Coming up in the show today, Angry Joe seems to be getting canceled by ResetEra over his Last of Us 2 review, and guess what? They seem to still believe Queen of the Feeders and her allegations against him, even though they have been getting more than debunked by this point. We're going to talk about what this means for Angry Joe, probably not a whole lot as pertains to his career, how this adds on to all of the controversy surrounding how some certain people have reacted to less than perfect Last of Us 2 reviews, and how this grows the ever extensive list of offenses that ResetEra has committed, and why we should be taking this as a serious threat to the gaming industry and why we have not been taking it seriously. My name is JD Shadow. All of this NEOC Remix Track of the Day comes your way right now. So it's time to bring a few particular stories all together and to also bring in a website that has been known to be quite the controversial one. We're going to mesh a lot of different things together and a lot of different controversies that have been going on in the gaming world together when we talk about what ResetEra seemed to have done to Angry Joe Vargas. You probably know who that guy is. He is somebody who creates very good in-depth reviews of games, and he's not very apologetic about what he says about certain games, but you can count on him to be quite honest about what his viewpoint is. But he is also one to have had a sexual assault allegation levied against him by Queen of the Feeders. That is very important when we go into what has happened to him over on ResetEra, who has seemingly to cancel him over that now debunked allegation, which we have talked about a couple of times on some of my Let's Talk series videos, but we'll get that here in just a second, because in order to talk about the second half of this whole thing and how this all went down, we also have to talk about another controversy in the gaming industry, as if the assault allegations were not enough. As you may have caught wind of in the light of all of this is going on, The Last of Us 2 dropped a few weeks ago, and even though it is the most sold PlayStation 4 release as terms of its debut, it is reportedly dropped 80% in sales in the subsequent weeks. And you may have heard a lot about the leaks that happened prior to the game coming out, with a lot of people saying, hey, this game is not that great in terms of the story, and it seems to be quite the mess. And when the game came out, it seemed to be more so of the same, that people, even though the graphic fidelity of the game seemed to be top notch, it was the story that drug the game down. Now, full disclosure, I have not really played the game yet. I'm kind of boycotting the game right now because of all the problems that people have said is going on with the game, as well as not wanting to reward the behavior of Sony and Naughty Dog right now, because they have seemingly to want to attack other reviewers who have not given the game anything less than a 10 right now. It seems as though that not only them, but several fans of the game have seemingly to want to attack anybody who gives it a less than perfect score and tries to criticize the game in any sort of way. And we're not talking about fanboys of the games, which obviously they're going to be there everywhere, anywhere you go, no matter what game it is. We are talking about industry insiders, the ones that get invited to all the preview events, one get invited to the E3s when they were still an industry only thing. People like that, people who have had a living of getting the easy ride in the gaming industry and not actually having to buy the games in order to give an honest opinion, who have to worry about whether or not what they say is going to get them invited to the next event, which is something that should never be happening. Why are gaming companies doing that? Why are gaming companies putting that much pressure on a reviewer in order to get a 10 out of 10 because of their standing on Metacritic, because they're so worried about what the higher ups might think if they don't get a 10 out of 10 everywhere they go? It's not enough that they get a 9.9 out of 10. They have to get the extra or 0.1 point out of it in order to be considered worthy of keeping their job. That is not okay. Why are we excusing that? But we have seen that this particular game has been getting very protected in terms of DMCA takedown requests, full-on DMCA takedown requests, as in you're getting a strike on your account if you post anything just talking about the game. It seems as though they're really protective about this game for some reason, and maybe part of it is because of some of the decisions in the storyline that Naughty Dog chose to implement. One of the most controversial things is of a particular character in the game, Abby, who has turned some heads in the wrong way, and that she is very unlikable, she is not fun to play as, she is shoehorned in, and it seems as though the messages in the story, hers being the main one, seem to be ham-fisted. That seemed to be the problem that many people have had with the storyline of the game. You can have a very good message of inclusion and diversity, but it being delivered in a clumsy way. It being delivered in such a way that it doesn't feel like it's organic, that it's growing with the characters, that it's growing with the story, that it stops the immersion in order to try to teach you something, that's being preachy. And it's not just the type of relationship that Elle has with these other characters, with Nina. It has to do with any type of relationship, with any type of message that you send. So it does seem as though a lot of people are trying to protect the message rather than the game. But there are other games out there that deliver that message in a better way, in that you feel as though not only have you played a great game, but you were being taught something in the interim. You have to make it entertaining. You can't just make it a edutainment type of thing. You have to do this a little bit differently when you're talking about a fictional story, that you're trying to send a message through that fictional story. You also have to create a good, compelling plot, and it didn't seem like they did that. Now, whether or not that they are correct, that the reviewers are correct, that's up to you to decide. You have that opinion. You can disagree with it. That's okay. But what is happening here is what we're about to get to. Angry Joe, who, by the way, was originally a part of Channel Awesome and had left Channel Awesome on the back of the Not So Awesome document and the revelations of who committed some of the more abhorrent acts, being Jew Wario. And I've said my opinion about why Channel Awesome should not be condemned for their response to that whole thing several times. I'm not going to go into that again. He gave The Last of Us 2 a 6 out of 10, citing while the graphic fidelity, as I said, was very well done, the story was a complete mess. It made you have to play the game as a very unlikable character, somebody who people didn't feel a connection to, somebody who seemed to be shoehorned in there to send a message rather than to be fun to play. And that was enough to get him attacked by ResetEra. Now, let's back up for a second and let's talk about why ResetEra is such a controversial site. We all know what ResetEra was born from, the NeoGAF moderators and administrators who thought that Talamalka actually committed those acts of sexual assault, which he never did. He debunked those claims as well. But that was never enough for ResetEra. ResetEra is one of those types of sites that no matter what anybody tries to say to defend themselves, they will believe the person who is making those allegations over anybody who even defends themselves. They're the type of people who are saying that, hey, if you were accused of something, you should just fall on your sword instead of trying to defend yourselves for the good of the movement, even though we've seen how destructive that is. But we've seen what ResetEra has also been capable of doing. Doxing a CD Projekt Red employee, calling out Sophia Norwich for just saying, hey, there was a data breach on your site. Instead, they viewed her as being alt-right. They pressured Nintendo to change a 2-second animation Mr. Game & Watch's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate because they found that offensive for some reason. And we need not say anything about the types of bans that they levy against anybody who dares to disagree with the quote-unquote woke viewpoints. And I'm going to use that term for lack of a better term, saying that I believe is neo-authoritarian. Some people call it woke, but it's the bad kind of woke here. And I hesitate to use that terminology when people kind of find that as being kind of a loaded term, but it's the only word I have to describe it. But you can no doubt see several times over if you go on several sites that they are very ban happy. They are very willing to pull the trigger, and some of the ban reasons are kind of pulled out of thin air. I cannot go into the amount of stupid reasons to ban somebody who have done nothing wrong on that site, and they somehow call it whatever hysteria they call it. And I'll post in the description below a site that you can go to that reads off a lot lot of the other controversies that ResetEra has been involved in. It is extensive, and despite that, a lot of gaming insiders and gaming journalists still do visit the site regularly, which brings me to this. All of that put together has led to what has happened to Angry Joe, who ever since those allegations came out, everybody started to say that he was not a very good person, despite them praising him and his videos again and again and again prior to the allegations. All of a sudden, a 180-degree turn. Everybody is saying that he is an asshole, that his viewpoints were never good, his videos were never funny, they didn't have any effort put into them, and The Last of Us 2 review seemingly did it for them. That was the last straw. That was the one thing that they saw that said that was something they did not want to do anymore with him. And all of that I just said, all of that I just mentioned leads to this. A post from the Bear of Love, who gets these names, by the way, a moderator on ResetEra, or is he administrator? It says word moderator, but apparently he's one that gets the task of saying this to people, saying in official staff communication, after discussion among the staff, we are no longer comfortable platforming Angry Joe or his content on the website due to the allegations against him and his bigoted remarks. Bigoted remarks. I'm not quite sure what they mean by that. More like the Last of Us 2 review and his opinions about that? Is that the only reason why they're saying that he has bigoted remarks? What is so bigoted about it? I wonder why. I wonder what the problem is with that. Maybe it's because he didn't like Abby? Is that the only reason why? Because if that's the case, then you're going to have to ban a lot of other people on your site. But given the love affair that ResetEra has with The Last of Us 2, I counted at least 10 different threads concerning something about The Last of Us 2 being such a great game, and the photo stuff and the stuff about Neil Druckmann. By the way, don't send any death threats to any of the people who were instrumental in making the game. Please don't do that. That does not bode well for anybody on a variety of reasons. That's just immoral to do, should be illegal, and it just gives people like ResetEra the ammunition to attack you. You're just making it harder for the rest of us to try to debunk some of this stuff. Stop doing it. I know it's fertile to try to say that, but it needs to be repeated. Please, please, for the love of God, don't give these people any more reason to want to attack people like Angry Joe. Please don't give him any more reason to. But Angry Joe did respond to this in his Twitter message. In his tweet saying, looks like I'm deplatformed from ResetEra forum for my bigoted comments regarding TLOU2. However, judging from the thread, they banned me for my politics, which is so ridiculous. Give the game they like a bad score and ResetEra will ban you. Proof right here. And he links to the quote from Bear of Love that I had already told you about. He goes on to say, the amount of Angry Joe hate there is so damn surprising considering this is one of the few websites that love my videos and posted about them regularly. Seriously disappointed in you guys, ResetEra forum, taking my play sessions out of context and turning your backs on us for what? Then he goes on to say, oh wait, apparently they banned Skill Up YT as well. LOL, probably the most intelligent, level-headed, well thought out Last of Us 2 review to date. How? Why? You know what? Never mind everyone. Nothing to see here. Nothing of value lost by being banned by these clowns. But we need to get into a bigger discussion about what ResetEra has done. But before we go into that, let's first of all back up for a second and first of all say that those allegations that ResetEra is still believing are true. Did they not just read through that whole account? All you have to do is read through the account and see that there was something wrong with it. This is why blind believing is so dangerous, because look what ResetEra has tried to do, and look who they harbor. Look who goes to that site. People like Jason Schreider, people like Ars Techna. They're going to see they hate we deplatform Angry Joe because of these allegations that we still believe are true. And you should not even look at what his response is. You should not think that he is deserving to be able to defend himself. He should not be allowed to defend himself. If a woman says he did it, regardless of what the facts might actually be, regardless of if there's anybody that can corroborate her story, which there seems to never have been, no matter if her story had a whole lot of contradictions in it, which they obviously did. Did you ever stop to think that maybe it was that one time out of maybe 9 times, maybe it's that 10th person who might have not been telling the entire truth? What else do you need to see? What else do you need to hear? So we get that out of the way. Let's talk about The Last of Us 2 stuff, because I do believe that it needs to be talked about a little bit here, because I have not talked about this on Special Report because we were so busy on the other stuff that has been going on in the gaming industry, which now is including some people in the Super Smash Brothers community. And what is going on anymore there? I don't understand any of this anymore. Why are we not just being normal human beings? Why do we have to misbehave so badly? Just be normal human beings. Yes, investigate the claims, but be normal human beings. Why do we have to hear stories like this? These stories should not be existing, because you should be behaving and being normal human beings. But I digress. Normal human beings also deals with these people who are criticizing The Last of Us 2. They're allowed to do that. That is part of the review process. You're allowed to do that. You are allowed to be for LGBTQ plus messages and be pro LGBTQ plus and still be able to criticize certain games that have those characters in it if they're haphazardly implemented, which this seemed to be. It is okay. It's going to be okay. The world's going to keep turning. Life will keep moving on. Well, maybe because of the virus, it might not be. I don't know. But the world's going to keep turning. Your life is going to keep going. Somebody made a 6 out of 10 review of a game. Who cares? If you like the game, that's great. Enjoy the game. Why does what we ever say going to affect how you enjoy the game? It's just our opinion. You are free to disagree. That's why we have the comment sections. That's why we don't close them down like some other certain feminist groups or feminist people who think that tropes are inherently evil. That's why we let you say your piece. It is because we are opening us up to criticism. We understand that's part of the process. And yes, we will deal with the trolls and the vitriol when they come. But for the most part, that's why we do that. That's what reviews are supposed to do, is to give you people an honest opinion about what we think so you can make an informed purchase. That's what it's there for. That's why it exists. If the only reviews that are allowed to exist are those people that are approved by the developers of the game, you know what's going to happen? You're going to be misled. That's just how it works. That's why you have reader reviews. That's why you have user reviews. That way you can judge between the two, between the critics and the people who are actually playing the game, who bought the game. And no, not every review I've ever read is something I agreed with. Have you heard of my opinions of Metroid Other M? Have you heard of my opinions about that game? I think the story was a terrific story, which dealt with the false Samus that had, with some of her flaws. And people think that it's somehow sexist for her to have flaws. And I will defend that game till the day I die. But that's why you might have disagreements. It's okay to disagree with people. It's okay. But the way that Sony and Naughty Dog and some of these people are defending the game are unlike anything we've ever seen. This is bizarre. How much they're willing to defend this game. How much Sony and Naughty Dog are willing to defend the game. How far they're willing to go here. What is about this game? What is about this one game that's making them so crazy like this? I just don't understand why it has to be this game. And I've seen this time and time again that they're trying to protect the message, not the game. Why did it have to be Ghostbusters 2016 that we had to watch in order to pass the test? Why did it have to be us liking Captain Marvel for us to pass the test of us being progressive? Why is it now this game that we have to play and we have to like without any fault whatsoever for us to be passing a test? These are forms of entertainment, and even though they might send a good message, we want to be immersed in the story. We want to be escaping into that world. We want to be able to care about the characters themselves. And if you don't make a character likable, then we're not going to connect with the character. We're not going to understand the message. We're not going to get the message. Or we're going to look past that and see that you're just trying to haphazardly shoehorn the message in which it's clumsily delivered. In a news story, you don't have to worry about that. You can just tell us what you think. But in a fictional story, you can't just do that. That's the disconnect we're having with everybody who's saying, oh, you're just not wanting these types of characters in the game. Whoever said that? No one said that. Name me a person who's actually said that and has not been taken out of context in any sort of way. Point me to that person, because we'd love to meet the person that you're talking to who is saying that kind of stuff to you. Where is that person existing that is not part of the Donald subreddit or wherever else you might be pulling them out of thin air from? Please direct me to these people. And don't just say some certain subreddit which deals with a certain movement that you guys disliked, because that's not an answer. But what we are are saying is that you can have good intentions and your heart might be in the right place, but in a fictional story, you have to worry about the characters and how they're delivering that message, how you're choosing to put that into your story, how you're putting that type of message into your world. And it's same across the board, whether it be homosexual relationships or heterosexual relationships or any other kind of relationship you may have in your game, or any other type of message you may have in your game, whether it be about a social issue or about a political issue or about a medical issue. The fact of the matter is that in a fictional story, you have to mind your P's and Q's about how you're delivering that message in a fictional story. It's a little different from when you're delivering that same message in a news story. That's why I said not everybody's going to agree with your sentiment about the game. If ResetEra loves the game, let them love the game. No one's saying that you're not allowed to have that opinion. But when you're criticizing other people for their opinions of the game, at the very least, get it right about what they're complaining about. They're complaining about the particular character, the individual character, not the identity that she has. The individual character is not likable. That's it. That the individual character is so clumsily told, and it forces you into that situation that makes you feel uncomfortable to be able to play as her because she is so unlikable. And yes, there are people within that community that are unlikable as individual people, and it does not make the identity or the movement any less viable to fight for. Period. End the story. But I can go on all day about the unethical nature of all of that. Let's get to the final part of this, which is how ResetEra is handling this, and that should be of no surprise that ResetEra is handling everything like this. They have a one-track mind, as you may know, and they knew exactly what they were going to do from the minute they heard that accusation. It was a 180-degree turn. It's like they stabbed him in the back like they did with everybody else who suddenly had these allegations levied against them. It was like they never liked them at all, that he always hated them, that he never liked them. Yet the evidence is just plain as day. You can go on their site right now and you can search for Angry Joe, and you can probably see a lot of people enjoyed his content. They are absolutely lying to you, and it is insidious that these people, these industry insiders, I'm calling them industry insiders because what else would we call them, who, because they are on the good graces of these developers, that they get the special perks that go along with it, and the developers who are also on the site are on a site that bans anybody for even a slight disagreement and uses a haphazardly delivered label behind why they're banning them, that does everything from doxing an employee of CD Projekt Red to even calling for a political pundit's death nearly, which got him deplatformed on Twitter for a while, if you remember that. Or maybe their secret Discord in which they revealed that they didn't believe half of what they're actually saying on the mothership site. Remember that? Or maybe they DDoS attack in which instead of saying, hey, we're going to do what we can in order to make sure your information is freaking safe, which by the way, they carried over the behavior they had on NeoGAF, where you had to use an actual email address, not like a Yahoo or an Outlook email address, but something that might identify your real name and your real location so they can dox you whenever they want to. Instead of trying to protect that, they instead call out the person that revealed that they got DDoSed. That's the people you want to support? Those are the people you want to give credence to? These are the people you want to call as your friends and as your neighbors and stuff like that? These are the people who you want as your friends? These are the people who you're turning to tell you who you should and shouldn't cancel? These are the people you're going to trust to tell you when something's transphobic